Welcome in to the Firebird Broadcasting Network. The Big Blue of Millikin come in 3-1 in conference play, 9-4 overall, versus the Firebirds 9-4 in conference play. And stop me if you heard it, 3-1 in conference play after being 9-4 overall. Both teams as evenly matched as can be. Hello everybody, I'm Peter Ferreri alongside Eric Elger. We appreciate you being with us in Tarble Arena off the chilly coast of Lake Michigan. We're excited to be here this afternoon with you on the Firebird Broadcasting Network. Eric, talk us through the matchup. Again, the women's game, such excitement coming down to the wire. Expect the same with the men.
Yeah, this is similar to last Saturday game when they went against North Park. This is a huge game in terms of conference standings as you take a look at the standings up there. Both Carthage and Millikin at 3-1, and you can see how crowded the top of the conference is. 4 teams all tied with 1 loss. So if Carthage can rise above this afternoon, get to 4-1, knock Millikin down a notch, that would be huge in terms of overall CCIW standings.
You know, and another thing to keep in mind, Carroll 0-4, Wheaton 0-4, they are still teams to watch out for. CCIW top to bottom, always one of the toughest squads across the board. Let's look at the season stats for this Firebird squad coming into today's game. Second in conference play in points scored and third in opposing points. So it's good offense, good defense, and not to mention second in rebounding.
Yeah, I know Coach Jurkovic mentioned earlier in the season how much of an emphasis on rebounding this team has had, and you can see second in the CCIW. That is a huge goal that the team had, and they've really come through, crashing the boards. But again, Carthage always known for having one of the best offenses in the CCIW, and this season no different.
On the other side for the visiting Big Blue of Millikin, 8th in points, so not scoring as much, but they're the number 1 defense, along with having a very high field goal percentage. So they take the right shots at the right time and hold their opponents less than them. Guess what? That equals victories.
Yeah, they're one of the better shooting teams. I mean, you have talented guys like JT Welch, who's gone over 1,000 points in his career. And last game, he really lit it up from behind the arc, scored 23 points, and shot over 50% from behind the arc. And they can be a handful on the offensive end. They got a D2 transfer, Lane Toman, you know, potentially maybe their best all-around player. So they're picking up, you know, talented players to go on top of a roster that, if you've known anything about this Millikin Big Blue roster, this has been a familiar cast of characters. Strouder's been around forever, DeMarcus Bond has been around forever, and adding someone like Lane Toman has been a huge boost to the Big Blue this season.
Well, the last time Millikin lost was a 73-64 loss at North Park in Chicago. Ever since then, victory, 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 victory. Did I mention victory? So they're on a nice little hot streak, including a victory 67-62 against Augustana earlier in the week.
And there you can see that last game, as I said, JT Welch, 5 of 7 from behind the arc, but they can really score all over this lineup. And, you know, someone like DeMarcus Bond, who has been around forever, I mean, they really can spread it out and they can attack in a lot of different ways. And there's last game for Carthage. The number 1 story from the game against Elmhurst was the Johnson brothers, a perfect 20 for 20 on the free throw line, and they needed all 20 of those free throws to eke out a win by 4 against Elmhurst.
We'll take a timeout and step aside for the starting lineup for these two teams. We're excited that you're with us on this Saturday afternoon live from Kenosha. Firebirds, Millikin, who's going to come away and continue their win streak, and who's going to be on the other side. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back on the Firebird Broadcasting Network. Starting lineup for the Big Blue, Welch, Bond, and Tillman, along with the forwards of Stevenson and Frazier Ott. Your starting five for the Firebirds: A.J. Williams, A.J. Johnson, Griffin Dawn, Riley Books, and the big man, Ryan Johnson. We appreciate you being with us on the Firebird Broadcasting Network. Hello, everybody. I'm Peter Ferreri alongside Eric Elger. Going left to right are going to be the Firebirds in their home grays, red numbers and letters, black trim. The Big Blue in blue, white numbers and letters, and a light blue trim around it. Tip off, and we are underway in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
So yeah, we talked about this Millikin lineup. They've been playing together for a while. The only new addition here, number 7, and right on cue, Lane Toman taking to the basket. He is athletic, he is all over the floor, and he is a tough guard in this conference.
Johnson with the pump fake, driving in, kicks out. Good penetration, floater with the right hand. The phenomenal A.J. Johnson delivers.
Wow, what a drive there, and calmly knocking it off the glass. He is as smooth as a player as Carthage have ever had. And DeMarcus Bond is a guy that doesn't get a ton of offensive looks, but he is strong and physical, and he can get his buckets as well as anyone.
Oh, can't leave him open. Rolls around, almost in. Looking for, there was number 11, Riley Brooks, the transfer, one of the key transfers for this Firebird squad. Handoff at the top, looking for the pass, was Frazier Ott, the grad student out of Chesterfield, Missouri. Up strong with the right hand, couldn't find the bucket, was DeMarcus Bond. Millikin up 4-2. Dawn looks baseline, kicks out. Ryan Johnson, can the big man find the big three? He can. 5-4 Carthage.
Great look there by Griffin Dawn, able to get baseline, keeps his head up, and sees Ryan Johnson at the top by himself, able to knock it down.
Backing in, looking for an opportunity, not able to find the bucket, was Frazier Ott once again. Transfer from Lindenwood University, trifecta, no good for Brooks, but he's that player that you want to take any shot he feels comfortable with.
Yeah, Frazier Ott, one of the more physical players Carthage is going to go against this season, and he can be a force, and he does all of his damage on the block down low.
Out of bounds, possession going to the Firebirds yet again. Lane Toman, the leading scorer, at just a hair under 15 points a game for Big Blue. Brooks, the leading scorer, at 15.5 for Carthage. Griffin Dawn looks for three, can't find it. Firebirds still up by one. Quick pace, opening few minutes of action on the Firebird Broadcasting Network.
And that's one thing you'll see Millikin do a lot. There's a lot of off-ball movement and guys like J.T. Welch coming off of screens, because if you give someone like Welch a fraction of a space to get a shot off, he can knock it down with anybody. One of the best three-point shooters this conference has.
Johnson, tough defense by Big Blue. Drake Stevenson causing some fits. Dawn thought about the shot, driving in, loses a handle. Foul going to be called on Millikin. That's going to be on DeMarcus Bond, the SLU High School graduate.
DeMarcus Bond, a 5-year starter for this team, so that is about as much experience as you're allowed in NCAA athletics, and he brings a lot to the table for the Big Blue.
10 on the shot clock. 2-3 zone for Big Blue. Driving in. Brooks thought about it. Fadeaway jumper. Iron no good. Trying to float it in. Not able to get the start he wanted. Floater right hand roll. Was Frazier Ott.
Yeah, Yeah, that is his game right there. It's really just backing it down and, kind of got a good look there off of Ryan Johnson, but
averaging 5 points a game. Coaching staff telling them you're all right, as Ott now subbing out for what seems to be the longest buzzer I've ever heard here at Tarble Arena. It's one of those days, Eric. It is one of those days. I walked in today, you were already here, and the fire alarm was going off. That must have been you trying to, come in one of the doors we're not supposed to, right?
It wasn't me per se, but yeah, I do remember doing that in college as a freshman, and I just kept walking. I'm not gonna lie, I just kept going.
Yeah,
the alarms were ringing. I was out of there. Somebody did the same thing before I got here today.
Floater with the left hand, no good by Tillman. Tillman out of Mackinac, Illinois. The DMAC High School grad. That's one of those combo schools. Griffin Dawn, they're leaving him open for three, decides not to take it, drives in, the turnaround fadeaway. Oh, nice piece of work. Griffin, we ride at Dawn.
Way to get to the paint, freeze the defender with a little jab step and a soft jumper. And man, if Griffin Dawn can really ratchet up his offense for this Firebird team, it's going to just provide one more wrinkle for Coach Jurkovic to use.
Johnson drives in. A little bit of contact, nothing there. Ryan Johnson, can he get another three? Rims out, no good. That would have sent this place on their feet. Very nice attendance on this Saturday afternoon in Kenosha. Floater right hand, rolls around, no good. Johnson with the rebound. Johnson kick out. Williams, can he find the trifecta? Side iron, no good. 3-point lead. Pace starting to slow down just a little bit. Oh, the drive in, the throw up, the foul called. Delayed foul, but nonetheless, smart play. For DeMarcus Bond out of St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah, Bond is the guy that likes to get to the basket, very strong, not so much a threat, on the outside, but I mean, he's effective at what he does, and he's been a handful all 5 years that he has been playing the Firebirds, and a key player for the Big Blue.
So Nemanja Stojic checks into the contest, along with number 20 for the Firebirds, Garrett Arnold, the junior out of Thunder Ridge High. Not that I didn't like my high school name, but how cool is Thunder Ridge? Like that, you just want to run through a wall.
It is a strong name, I gotta say.
Well, it's like Wheaton College and the CCIW, the Wheaton Thunder. I just, the very first game I called for the CCIW was a Wheaton soccer postseason game. Years and years ago, they had just changed their name to the Thunder. And how about a goal score in a postseason matchup, and you get to, Thunder. Enough about my stories. Johnson, off the rim, no good.
Johnson, a great three-point shooter in his own. We talked about JT Welch, but Johnson, a 42% free throw shooter in his own regard.
Screen at the top, Arnold with the chase. That, I thought, should have been a travel, but shot clock violation nonetheless. The officials talking because they were potentially going to call a jump ball at one moment, but the squeak of the sneakers.
Yeah, the foot just kind of gave out on him and fell to the floor, and Carthage able to get on top of it and get back and going on the offensive end here.
Nice inbound pass or inlet pass to Stojic. But good slide by Spates to stop it. Long range three. Now it'll find it. Was Colton Sigel who's checked into the game.
Sigel's one of those guys that there's not a three-point shot that he has not really loved to take. He will, you get him some daylight, he is going to let it fly.
Him and Colton, how about Ryan Johnson? The three-point assassin. 6 out of the 10 points for the Firebirds have come the way of the long ball from the big man. 10-4 your score. We'll keep it here on the Firebird Broadcasting Network.
Yeah, how about Ryan Johnson? I mean, what a difficult guy to guard. I mean, he's someone that obviously is a taller player. They get him down the post a lot of times, but I mean, if he can just stay there on top of the arc, that puts a lot of pressure on the other team's defender, because you have to be able to guard him in the post, but kind of dragging those defenders out of the paint becomes more difficult, and you know that also opens up some lanes for the slashers the Firebirds have. But you can see just like not able to get out there in time.
What I was going to comment on is you don't expect the big man to make it rain. And so you give him that little bit of space, because if he drives in, you're stuck in no man's land. But now it's a situation where you may need to be a little cognizant of where he is and where his placement is.
Yeah, I mean, especially knocking down 2 threes. I mean, you know that Coach Kramer Soderberg is going to say, hey, we got to close out on him hard, because, I mean, he is a great shooter. And you can see, we talked about last game how well both Johnson brothers are from the free throw line, but, you know, they don't have to just be shooting free throws to be effective as well. And both the brothers prolific behind the arc as well.
Officials today, Tom Warwick, David Cronin Jr., and Bryce Can. Doing a stellar job all season. Besides the 6 point, go ahead.
And something interesting too, I was just taking a look at their shot chart. I mean, Carthage 4-12 from the field, 9 3-pointers already taken. So we'll see if that trend continues, and maybe Millikin's looking to, you know, almost forcing them to try to take those long threes. And if Carthage is satisfied with taking them, and if they can knock them down, there'll be a huge point in this game.
Another slip, my goodness, is number 33, Nate Straughter. That is the second time he slipped. I make that 3. Or that, all right, they're going to call that a foul. So he slips 2 out of the last 3 possessions, and then that time called with a foul. So I've been here a few years, and that I don't know if I've ever seen somebody slip that many times.
It's almost like a football game where they have to go in and change their cleats.
Yeah.
You might need a new pair of sneakers.
Nemi Johnson passing like it's Bryce Lowe out at Art Keller Field.
And that's been amazing to see Nemi. I mean, just how calmer he is with the ball, and what a bounce pass to get to a cutting Ryan Johnson.
Forcing his way in, and who else? Nemi Stojic. You know, you and I have been around the program a few years, you more than I. But again, last year, Stojic, he was, you know, arguably the 5th forward off the bench. Tony Bernero. You had Julian Campbell, the freshman Ryan Johnson. You know, you were down on there, and not in a negative way, but now you're the number 2, and you're just making running right-hand floaters like it's nothing. You know, the purple people eaters with the shoes.
I was just going to
Is it the shoes?
shoes?
Yeah, I love it. I need to up my shoe game. Shut up, no good. I keep telling head coach J.W. Keycafer for the men's volleyball team, again, congrats to them. Double sweeps to start the men's volleyball season on their track for a 3rd national championship out of the last 5 years, or 4 years, I should say. And the reason I say that is, you know, it's a situation where, Nemi backing in. Coach Keycafer, always the cleanest Jordan 1s.
always in the color scheme of the Firebirds as well, which is easy for Jordan, as you know.
Yeah, it
a lot
is,
of red,
indeed.
A lot of red and black in that arsenal.
Fading away. Coach Jarakovic wondering where the foul was. But Chase Travis going to go to the line nonetheless. Travis, a .850 free throw shooter.
Yeah, Chase Travis, a energetic forward that the Big Blue brings, and he likes to get to the basket. And you know, can you get him off the free throw line? Because he is one of the better free throw shooters on this team, coming in at 84%. So he likes to get to the basket, likes drawing fouls, and he wants to get to the free throw line. So Carthage is going to have to do their best to try to counter that. And really, I mean, you take a look at in 10 minutes into the game, Millikin sitting at 6 points. Strong defensive start here for the Firebirds.
Under 10 until half. A fast opening half of action. Kick out to the top, Griffin Dawn. Driving in floater Williams. Hits the bottom of the net. Nice crossover, couldn't find it. Shot up, no good by Welch, but an offensive rebound. Bullock in the game as well. Driving baseline, another slip and a travel gonna be called. I don't know if it's this side of the court. I not to dwell on it.
It's crazy. I mean, it's weird. It's now reached the point where it's a little weird how many times these guys have been slipping. I mean, we just had the women's game. It's not like they were slipping and sliding. So, interesting, you know, kind of a footwear situation here for the Big Blue.
I mean, I'm just thankful that nobody's gotten injured because, you know, a leg plants and the other leg goes. Williams backs in. Strong defense for the Blues so far. Off the left wing, no good. I think at the right wing. Jacob Bullock, hands off to the top. Man defense right now for Carthage. Dawn steps up. Bullock drives in, floats right hand, no good. Dawn comes away with the board. Williams looks for the screen. Dawn floats it in. And that is two fairly big misses so far. Just not in the magnitude, but not close driving in. Let's see what Carthage does the next time on the offensive side. Floating up with the right hand, no good. Williams with the board. Pushing the pace in a typical Jarakovic offense. And a foul going to be called against J.T. Welch out of Bloomington, Illinois.
Be interesting to see if they call him on the pass here, if they're going to say he was shooting. And they're going to get it looks like you're getting to the free throw line. And Carthage loves getting to the free throw line. And that was a big part of Coach Jarakovic's game when he played, former D3 Player of the Year for the Firebirds. And so he, you know, someone that modeled his game off the free throw line and attacking the basket. He really imparts that on his team as well. And there's really no better example of a Steve Jarakovic type of player than A.J. Johnson, who's shooting 90, I repeat, 90% from the free throw line. So
I heard 90% is pretty good.
Yeah. I'm glad we didn't jinx him there.
That could have happened. That's why I just paused. I said I don't want to be the one to blame. If anyone it is, if he missed it, be Eric Elger. That's E-R-I-C.
I can't see A.J. Johnson being a guy that blames too many people. It seems like such a calm, collected, cool player.
Ooh, that's a cool shot for J.T. Welch. The guard hitting nothing but the bottom of the net, averaging 10 points a game.
Mentioned he had a huge game last time out, 23 points, and that is his first bucket of the game so far.
Brooks from way out there. High dribble for Bond, able to pick up the pieces. Thinking about just trying to shoot it up was Welch, and Welch gets kind of aggressive with looking for calls we've seen so far as he's chirping at the official right now. I mean, he didn't even have possession, just kind of threw his arms up.
Yeah, I mean, he's also a guy that, like, if he can find a way to get to the free throw line himself, he pretty much is automatic from that spot.
Lane Toman able to deliver. That's the shot he's been trying to make all game, and just like that, Millikin back to within 5. A hot start for Carthage, but I bet Big Blue is trying to chip in to this lead. Now with 7:16 remaining, stick around for the halftime show. Stats, replays, analysis, and more. As we see Millikin, what they were kind of able to do offensively. There's that wide open 3, the ever confident JT Welch.
Yeah, Welch, what are the, we've mentioned getting over 1,000 points in his career, and you can see why. I mean, he gets a second of separation and can let it fly on the season, shooting close to 40% from behind the three-point line, and he is a talented offensive engine. And you can see on the defensive end, though, I mean, not the tallest player out there on the floor, just standing at 5'10". So Carthage a couple times is that if they've had somebody guarded by JT Welch, they've gone to that player. They've looked at AJ Williams, trying to use his physical kind of advantage and see what he can get.
Shot up, good. AJ Johnson. Last time these two teams played was a 67-66 victory, Millikin over the Firebirds. First half, 37-32 was Carthage, but Millikin flipped the script, outscored them 35-29 in the second half. Leading scorers for the Firebirds, Julian Campbell, Phil Balatovich, Antoine Nesbitt. So 3 of your top 4 scorers, because next there was AJ Williams, and I think that bears mentioning in that it's a situation where, those players are not here anymore. And why does that? On the flip side, JT Welch, 22 points, and DeMarcus Bond with 19. I mean, Welch, an absolute prayer. Shot clock violation, it didn't make contact, but there, like you mentioned, there is no shot Welch won't take.
Yeah, I was thinking, I had a hunch, and I don't have the perfect memory, but I remember JT Welch having quite a game where he just went to work, I think, in the second half and was hitting shots from all over the floor, and so you'll look for him to continue to try to get a bigger role in this game.
Well, and not to mention 8 for 8 from the free throw line. Went to the free throw line more than anybody. Layup with the left hand, no good. That's the bread and butter right now for Lane Toman. Driving in and going up strong with the left, just hasn't able to deliver as much as he would have liked.
And just a kind of a defensive struggle here from 2 high-powered offensive teams.
Griffin Dawn kicks out. Brooks off balance. Back iron, no good. Offensive board, Johnson. Pump fake, goes up strong with the right hand. Fouled by Toman. And Johnson will go to the line for 2. And one thing we mentioned in some of those names, Julian Campbell not playing this year. Phil Balatovich graduates. Antoine Nesbitt injured. Tony Bernero graduated. It is, for a lot of intents and purposes, just a brand new team. Some similar players, of course. (19-11). Firebirds looking to add on.
And that's the first free throw Johnson has missed in a while. And yeah, I mean, after a perfect night from the line on Wednesday, he's already lost that, but he's knocked out a couple three-point shots early in this game.
Pump fake, and that's going to be a strong foul. Smart play if you're Johnson. I believe Johnson was the one called on that foul, as that was going to be an easy bucket. Marcus Bond. So Bond will go to the line, shooting .650 from the free throw line.
He's kind of a crafty, wily veteran, DeMarcus Bond, and just able to get to his spot, and he loves to attack. And pump fakes thrown in there and drawing the foul because, Ryan Johnson was way up in the air.
Nice crossover by Johnson, kicks out Griffin Dawn, drives in, screens for Brooks, who doesn't take the shot. 5 minutes remain until half. 6-point lead for the Firebirds. Williams, hands in his face, doesn't matter. Welcomes us in to the Ring of Fire.
And Carthage really leaning on the three-point shot. They've already launched 14 of them.
Ooh, smooth as silk. Nice outside shot for Bond.
Yeah, two very different contrasting offensive approaches so far this game.
Energy picking up a bit. Ryan Johnson and one with authority. 10 points for number 10 with a chance to make it 11.
Yeah, they didn't want to get put on a poster there because Johnson had some ill intent when he was going up with that. And Millikin doing their, what they had to do, just knocking them and trying to get the foul because that thing was going to get thrown down if somebody didn't step in front of him there.
Bounces around, goes in, take it any way you can. 10-point lead for Carthage. 11 points out of the 25 by way of the younger Johnson. Quick pass off. Bond decides not to take the shot. Checking back into the game is Straughter. Opportunity for the Firebirds to take advantage of Welch not in the contest. Turnaround jumper, good. And Straughter, who checked in for Welch, delivers a nice turnaround jumper.
Yeah, Straughter is actually their leading scorer last year. He's kind of taken a step back offensively because with the additions of guys like Lane Toman, but Straughter's still a guy that Millikin can lean on as their Griffin Dawn staying aggressive.
Left hand up off the glass and good. Frazier Ott, his first bucket, aggressive when he gets into the paint, able to deliver.
He's an old school type of player, isn't he? Just all right in the restricted area, looking for little hook shots, a little turnaround.
Ott standing 6'8". Again, the Lindenwood University transfer, former D1 player. Up with the right hand, no good. Ott with the rebound. Lindenwood, one of those schools that recently made the jump to D1. The pump fake, Ott underneath it, heard us talking about him. I had the pleasure to unofficially call the first D1 game for Lindenwood. It was in women's soccer against Illinois State. And I'll never forget doing a pre-call with the Lindenwood soccer coach, and it was, hey, we're happy to be here.
The Big Blue are happy they came from Lindenwood for sure, because he's just that steady inside presence.
Setting the screen. From the elbow, good. Smooth operator, Nate Staughter. Another St. Louis product. And just like that, the 10-point lead down to 4. Surprising turn of events nonetheless. Millikin now 4 out of their last 5 from the field.
A lot of that damage coming from Ott inside, and what Ott brings, I mean, just a force, physical, and you think kind of like if Ryan Johnson versus Ott has kind of been the matchup so far. both of those players have, I would say, have the advantage on offense over the defensive side, because Ott has a tough time trying to guard Ryan Johnson out there, but on this other side, the flip side, Ott really is kind of that strength, and it is tough for someone like Ryan Johnson to kind of match him physical on physical. So that is an interesting matchup that has been developing here in the first half.
Right now, Millikin out rebounding Carthage only by 2. Fairly even matchup. However, Millikin 6 turnovers so far to only 2 of the Firebirds. That's helping make up that difference of 4 points. A.J. Johnson, the crossover, looks for the pass into his younger brother, up strong with the right hand. And it's the Ryan Johnson show this early evening in Kenosha.
That's the brother-to-brother connection there. What a good look that he feeds the younger brother. Just able to kind of drop it over the top, and Johnson able to get, Ryan Johnson that is, able to get 2 points.
I'm sure that's one of those stories, kids in the backyard passing off to one another.
Yeah, they've been teammates for a while.
Three-pointer, can't find it off the back of the rim. Carthage going to utilize as much of this shot clock as they want. Minute 10 until half. And stick around for the dance team and cheerleader performances and Ryan Johnson's three-point attempts. And that's going to stay with the Firebirds. That was, A.J. Johnson who took the three. Ryan with the heads-up play to throw it off of the right shin of DeMarcus Bond.
Yeah, interesting to see Coach Jurkovic and the Firebirds call up a little two-man game between the Johnson brothers. There, A.J. taking the three, but his brother Ryan able to hustle, knock it off the big blue, and get it back in the Firebirds' hands.
10 seconds on the shot clock. Brooks is open to the left wing if they can get it to him. Ryan Johnson, A.J. decides to take the three. Three-pointer, Millikin would be backed within one possession. Backing in, right-hand hook. Couldn't find it. Was number 10, Drake Stevenson. 6-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock.
Drake Stevenson, another one of those guys that have been around Millikin forever. You could see him waving off all the other offensive players. He said he wanted to take it himself, just not able to get it though.
Let's see if they look for Brooks. 0 for 6 so far. Thought about it. Dawn drives. The turnaround, the floater, and that is going to be a shot clock expiration. Hit the rim, but a moment too late.
Yeah, they had a nice move, but just ran out of clock. And now you can see they get JT Welch back out here. Look out for him coming off some kind of screen.
Shot clock expiring. The finger roll with the right hand, and DeMarcus Bond had a wide open look. He's kind of smiling, shocked he missed it. Firebirds take a collective sigh of relief. They will go into halftime 29-23. Eric, thoughts before we take a break?
Yeah, it's been a contrast in styles. You see Carthage 4-17 from 3. Millikin only shot 3, and it's going to be a tight game, and it's continued to be a tight game. And who's going to be the difference maker for the Firebirds? Offensively, it's been Ryan Johnson. Can they get Riley Brooks going? We'll see what's coming up here in the second half.
We'll take a timeout. 29-23 your score. We'll be back momentarily on the Firebird Broadcasting Network.
team with some special Spirit Team alumni joining them for the performance.
Welcome into the halftime report. What an outstanding job by the former Firebird dancers and cheerleaders. You know, if I were to ever do anything like that, I mean, I would tear a quad. I mean, it just would not be pretty. So outstanding job. It's always fun to see when alumni come back and, you know, have such an important part of, you know, showing the young ones how it's done. 29-23 your score. I'm Peter Ferreri alongside Eric Elger. Let's crunch some of the halftime numbers. Points in the paint, a little bit favoring Carthage. Points off of turnovers, Carthage with 5. Field goals, just about even. Three-pointers, just about even. But with that being said, it's a completely interesting situation where Millikin, 9 for 26 from the field. Carthage, 11 for 30. In terms of the boards, both teams with 18 total rebounds. It's just that turnover right now. Millikin with 6 and Carthage with 3, and that's how you get a 6-point differential.
I mean, yeah, it's not been a shooting clinic out there at all. Both teams shooting in the 30% region. And you take a look at the leading scorers for both teams, Riley Brooks, Lane Toman. They are combined 2 for 13. Riley Brooks doesn't have any buckets, but even Lane Toman, an inefficient 2 for 7. So both leading scorers for these two teams struggling a little bit, and that's why they've had to turn to some of their second and third options. And what a second option Carthage has with Ryan Johnson. Maybe his third option. AJ might have another to say about who's the second option on this offense. But we'll say one of the two Johnson brothers. And yeah, Ryan Johnson been so effective this afternoon so far. 5 of 6 from the field and picking up 13 points and doing some damage also behind the arc. 2 of 3 from behind the line. So on the offensive side for Millikin, it's kind of been a spread around. You know, there's been DeMarcus Bond had a little run where he scored a few buckets in a row, but, you know, it's kind of been a spread offensive output for the Big Blue so far. So you'd expect them to continue to look at Lane Toman, and someone we've talked about a lot is JT Welch, only 1 for 4 from the field. So, you know, some big offensive firepower for Millikin that really hasn't got off the starting block yet.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point. When you have a player like Bond and you have a player like Welch, you expect them to score a lot. It just hasn't been there right now, and it's not for lack of opportunities. Welch 1 for 4, Bond 2 for 4. The turnovers really having a point in play. But Carthage right now, their leading scorer, Brooks, has 0 points. So if you are Millikin, you are saying to yourself, let's just hope that Brooks doesn't heat up, you know, and let's hope that our players do. But nonetheless, we'll take a timeout. When we come back, second half action on the Firebird Broadcasting Network.
Being a student athlete at Carthage, you get the best of both worlds, honestly. You get to learn, grow in the classroom, and then also be a part of the sport that you've fallen in love with since you've been playing it. You get the one-on-one support from the teachers, and then you get the help from your teammates as well.
The athletics teams here at Carthage, they're like really good. Some of the achievements that we had during this past year, the volleyball team won the national championship 2 times in a row, like 2 years in a row. So it was incredible to see it because we are like a unit. So it's really nice like to have everyone together and cheering for just one thing.
So the athletic facilities at Carthage, they're new and improving each and every year. We have the baseball, softball, and football field that all of our athletes compete on. There is the Tark, which houses the baseball weight room. There's the actual gymnasium itself, so Tarble Arena for men's, women's basketball, volleyball. And then obviously the swimming pool that is also in the Tark, and upstairs there's the field house. We've added the Nest, which is a recovery room for all of our student athletes. There's massage guns, there's granola bars, there's other food items. So we have a lot of nice things in that room that you can sign up, take it, and it's completely for free. There's so many great opportunities. The athletic staff's super kind, your coaches care about you. There's just so much that goes into being a student athlete that it's an experience I would not take back.
The Aspire program is part of the Aspire Center, and the Aspire Center is our 4-year career and professional development program here at Carthage College. The Aspire program is really different and unique from other colleges and universities' career programs because instead of what the typical experiences of senior year trying to go get a job or an experience after college, we want students to build their experiences starting from day one. So whether that means going and finding an alumni panel that they're going to learn from an alumni about the career industry that they're excited about, or if it means getting an internship or a research experience that's going to build their portfolio, we want the students to develop and learn who they are so they can really leave Carthage with a very good sense of purpose and understanding before they actually leave the college. Every student that comes to Carthage has their own individual career specialist. This is a person who specializes in the industry field that they're going into. For example, we have a career specialist for our arts, communication, and culture students. This is a person who's been working as a graphic designer for the past 20 years, and she's responsible for helping those students get opportunities and experiences along the way.
I landed my first internship as a freshman at Deloitte, which is #1 of the Big 4 accounting firms in the world. Through the Aspire program, I was able to develop skills that helped me in interviews as well as networking with other professionals.
Welcome back. Second half action on the Firebird Broadcasting Network. We appreciate you being with us this afternoon. 29-23 your score. As we see a key item here, as well as that 6-3 turnover differential. But the 3-point field goals, Millikin only trying 3 in the first half. Quite surprising if you ask me. Eric, talk us through some strategy here for the second half of action as we see Ryan Johnson's 13 points, A.J. Johnson 7, Griffin Dawn, and A.J. Williams.
Yeah, I mean, I think Carthage, I would say you probably want to not rely so much on the three-point shot. I mean, taking 17 threes, I would say, is probably right up there with as many as they've taken in any half this game. And, where can they get some of those easier buckets? Someone like Griffin Dawn has done a nice job of getting to the basket and getting a couple of those, close looks. And, the other thing, too, is Riley Brooks, you got to expect him to get somewhere closer to that average of 15.5 points a game. And so sitting at 0 right now, you can expect a little offensive punch from your best leading scorer.
For Eric Elger, I'm Peter Ferreri. We appreciate you being with us. Steele to start things off in the second half of action. High tip in the air. It's almost like a volleyball, almost hitting the rafters and taken back now by the Firebirds.
Yeah, giving it right back to the Carthage after it looked like they was going to run out and get a bucket, but Carthage able to run back on defense and get the ball back. Johnson able to connect there, had a nice little mid-range look. He's really been the, who they've had to lean on offensively so far this game. And
crisp pass underneath. And again, it was fun to see. I don't know if you caught that, Eric, but Frazier Ott put up both hands like he, like a laser scope. He is entertaining.
Yeah, he's he had the vision there, and we talked about pregame is that someone like Lane Tolman, man, that guy never stops running on the offensive end, and there he was able to get a nice back cut and the goggles, the vision of Ott.
Brooks
playing at a dime.
Yeah, I was just say Brooks still scoreless on the afternoon. Welch with the floater. Thought he got fouled again, but for all intents and purposes, I think Welch might think he gets fouled more often than he does, but it's part of the strategy. Millikin and their strategy, they're back to within 2.
Another interesting thing here is that Carthage has essentially led all of this game over 19 minutes of the lead, but man, it is not feel comfortable at all.
Griffin Dawn, good rotation. Opportunity now for Millikin to tie or take the lead. Chris pass inside. The pump fake breaking through the triple defense. Not able to find it at the last moment was Frazier Ott. Not afraid to take on the triple team.
No, he is not, and he is he is rugged down there, and you got to look there because what they like to do is they like to screen the screener on offense, and that's what provided a little window of space, but Ott not able to come up with it.
Man defense once again for the Firebirds. Dawn, a little bit of a mismatch on the left. Let's see if they take advantage of it. Backing in is Stevenson. Kicks out to Ott. He drives in. Beautiful pass underneath the Bond. My goodness, Frazier Ott. Whether it's shooting or passing, the big man delivers. Ott up to 8 points. We are tied at 29. Head coach Steve Jarakovic has seen enough timeout taken.
Yeah, Ott playing a little like Jokic for the Nuggets, just kind of, facing up to the basket, and there another nice pass there, and then a bounce. Here we see Ott on that, as you mentioned, a dot down there to Tillman. And there again, operating from the wing, no-look bounce pass. Can't believe he got that one, threaded that one through.
Yeah. And that's, not to keep talking about him, but again, that just shows you, if you get the right person in the portal, they can do a lot of damage for you if it fits your system. Brooks right now, again, scoreless on the game, but the leading scorer for the Firebirds, a transfer. You got your, right now your best passer for Millikin, a transfer. So sometimes if that single piece adds on, it really makes a difference. By the way, I just noticed you have a pencil box with you. I'm impressed. It's like, whether it's a color, a pencil, a highlight, you got scissors?
Got to have some options. You don't know what announcing might bring, so you got to be prepared with all the supplies.
Scissors in case it's like, a sleeveless Tuesday game. You just got or you got a string coming down or need a quick haircut. I feel it. 29-29 your score. Free throw up good. Ryan Johnson.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to not turn to Ryan Johnson repeatedly. It just seems like, anytime they've been successful on the offensive end, it has come through Ryan Johnson.
Rolls around good as well.
Now Johnson up to 15 points. So essentially half of Carthage's score here, all coming from Ryan Johnson.
Backing down the pump fake. Kicking out. Soft man right now. Nemanja Stojic has come into the game. Looking for three. No good. Welch. Not afraid to pull the trigger. Couldn't find it. A.J. Johnson, A.J. Williams. Ryan Johnson, and a foul's going to be called as Bond, well, are they going to say stepped on the line? Okay, they're going to say Bond came away with the steal, but then stepped on the line. So 33, Nate Stauder in the contest. A lot of players from the St. Louis area on the roster for Millikin. Jackson Niedenbach, DeMarcus Bond, Drake Stevenson, Chris Ketchum, Anthony Lewis, Pat Orgliacio, Nate Stauder, and Lance Hackney. Just
Bond,
like that.
Yeah, Bond just took it all the way one end to the other, and he has been, a huge piece offensively for the Big Blue so far, and continuing his nice afternoon.
Stojic looking for a lane, didn't find it. Williams goes in. Brooks looks for the three, front iron, no good. Johnson, jump ball, and it is. So 10 and 10 with the jump ball, and Ryan Johnson now kind of shaking out that right wrist. Never something you want to see if you are a Carthage fan. See if you could shake that off. Tied at 31, opportunity for Millikin to take the lead. Right now, Carthage 1 for their last 11. Bond, DeMarcus Bond with a thunderball, 33-31. Or you could say, with the golden eye, the plethora of Bond movies.
Yeah, that name does lead you to those type of references.
Stojic goes for the layup, couldn't find it. Looking coast to coast, trying to get contact, layup, good. Stevenson, a 4-point lead for the Big Blue. Bond swipes it away at the last second, thought he might have tipped it away from A.J. Johnson. And if you watched the women's game earlier today, it was a similar point where Big Blue kind of started to, make their mark, and then Carthage had to come back. And, with all that being said, just when it comes to CCIW, and as cliche as it sounds, you throw the records out because both these teams as evenly matched as possible. Ryan Johnson looks for it. So you have Ryan Johnson and Nemanja Stojic in the game simultaneously right now. Doesn't happen that often because usually Stojic gives a breather to Ryan Johnson. The pass in, getting stuck in no man's land. Thought he picked up his own dribble, but they're saying a touch was called. Under 10 seconds remain. Stevenson drives in, floater right hand, nothing but the bottom of the net. 6-point lead for Millikin.
Yeah,
it is a 6-0 run. Make that an 8-0 run now for Big Blue. They're 4 for their last 5.
I mean, Carthage just needs to make shots. I mean, it sounds, not to make it so simple, but they just haven't found anyone able to knock it down, and they're a tough turnover.
Stevenson, the up and under, the basket. 8-point lead for Big Blue over the home Firebirds, who sit stunned. What a run. Millikin was trying to tie it. They've not only tied it, but they've taken a 10-0 run. It is actually a 22-4 run going back to the first half.
I mean, you look at the second half stats, they are not pretty. Carthage just 2 points in this frame. Millikin shooting 8 of 10 from the field. And again, Carthage, 5 of their 8 shots are 3-pointers, so they're continuing to take them. And it's kind of like, if that's all you've got and you can't hit those shots, where else can you find some offense? And, Coach Jurkovic and his staff are really going to have to look at what other options can we create here, because the jump shots are just not falling.
Looking as well at some of the numbers, DeMarcus Bond 4 out of his last 5, Stauder 4 out of his last 5. It's a game of runs, and right now everything is running and turning up blue. If you're the Firebirds, I know you said it's as simple as making your shots. What type of shots are you trying to create at least right now?
Yeah, it seems like they've been settling for a lot of deep, outside shots, and just, what can they, can they get some, drives to the basket, and at least maybe getting some drive and kick-out type of opportunities. But credit to Millikin. I mean, they've really made it hard for guys like A.J. Johnson to get to the rim or to get into the paint, and that's why it seems like everything is just all outside. And I'm not sure what Coach Jurkovic has up his sleeve, but I know he's got something, and I would expect Carthage to make a run of their own here with 13 minutes 50 seconds left. And you can see he's turned into trying to find some offense here, turn into Colton Sigel.
8-point lead for Big Blue. Driving in, almost losing possession, was A.J. Johnson. Brooks, the turnaround, doesn't decide to pull the trigger. Brooks does this time, can't find it. The cold spell continues for Riley Brooks, 0 for 9. He's taken most of his shots from that deep 3 position. But again, as you and I stated at the onset of this game, Brooks is one of those players, it doesn't matter if he's 0 for 20, you tell him to keep shooting.
Yeah, 0 for 6 now.
Absolute heat coming from Nate Stauder, up to 11 points. He has subbed in for JT Welch and is dominating this game. It is a 11-point lead for blue. And finally, the spark plug, Griffin Dawn, finds a basket, a desperately needed basket for Carthage.
He's been one of the only guys to be able to get those kind of that quick, that short mid-range shot, and everything else has really been settled so far outside. And you know, what an advantage for the big blue to, you have your leading scorer not doing so well, you just turn to your leading scorer from last season, and away they go. Strouder's really, you know, re-exerted his role, number one man role here, and
Sigel comes away with the steal. I was going to mention a few moments ago, don't be surprised if Sigel comes in and has an impact. Already does on the steal. The pump fake for Johnson, and one. Chance for the old-fashioned three-point play. And another player I think bears mentioning, he has not seen the court yet today, so not quite sure of his availability, is Tanner Lamb.
Yeah,
another
you're right.
player that can just go get us 2 threes, get us back into it. But again, that number has gone to Garrett Arnold with a little bit of playing time. So let's see what.
That's the last 2 possessions. Carthage been, you know, getting into the bucket, and there, you know, Tion Spates really biting on the pump fake. And, you know, I think if you're Coach Soderberg, you probably don't want him jumping, flying out there in the three-point shot, because they've been so cold back there. And that's what opened up the lane for Ryan Johnson to take it to the basket.
Zone defense right now for the Firebirds. Ryan Johnson converging. Floater up, no good. Tipped out. And just an aggressive play by Tion Spates, forcing the Firebirds to make that last contact. Looking for the inbounds. Welch has come back into the game. A block by Griffin Dawn. That'll stay with the Firebirds. Ryan Johnson having a conversation right now with the official. If you're Millikin, you got to be pretty excited about just the high percentage you're shooting here in half number 2. They looked for the float in, and that's going to be a shot clock violation.
Yeah, Millikin only 1 second on the shot clock. They were kind of stuck with what they were trying to do. And I want to give a shout out here to Griffin Dawn. I mean, just how well has he done defensively on such a talented D2 transfer. Really, he has not got going at all was Lane Toman, and a lot of that is credit to the defense of Griffin Dawn.
Sigel, long range 3, almost nailed it. Back out, A.J. Johnson, the step in, 2-pointer. And just like that, from an 11-point lead down to 4. A.J. Williams looking to check back in. Also joining him is going to be Frazier Ott, who's at least potentially going to come back in. The pump fake, the drive, the kick. Stauder, a rare miss here in half number 2.
Yeah, he was feeling that. You could see the confidence oozing out of him, and I got to say, I kind of expected that to go in, and thankfully it didn't.
Dawn thought about the 3, kick back out to Brooks. They're going to let Brooks shoot right now. He still is yet to score his first bucket. The spin, Johnson into Dawn. Dawn looking for positioning, 7 on the shot. A.J. Johnson for 3, no good. Had a good look, and ripping it away is Drake Stevenson.
Yeah, they just cannot, I mean, shooting 16% from 3, and it doesn't really matter who's been taking them. You know, besides, it really is the first 2 threes, Ryan Johnson early in the game, and you think he knocked 2 of the first couple shots, and it's been 2 of, you know, whatever after that, and there's a classic little JT Welch turn around and knock it in, and, you know, Millikin continuing to get some buckets here as Carthage is trying to cut the lead down.
JT Welch, a much-needed bucket for Big Blue. Had that leaner, thought he might have gotten contact, didn't have it. But still a nice little run for the Firebirds now. And something to keep in mind, still from three-point land, Millikin still 2 for 6 from long range. We knew it was an opportunity for the Firebirds to start clawing back in this one. You weren't going to get it. Sigel, actually, you see in the background there, thought he might have gotten contact, but A.J. Johnson with the step through and able to bring it back. But a nice timeout called. See if the Firebirds can regroup with 10:01 remaining. It really, really was starting to favor Millikin. Not only that 22-4 run dating back to the end of the opening half of action, but 12-0 in the second half. I mean, it really was a dry spell for Carthage, but they're starting to, bit by bit, bucket by bucket, point by point, come back in this contest. Dawn layup with the right hand, fouled by number 11, Frazier Ott, and Dawn to the line to make it a one-possession game.
Wow, what a decision there. I mean, he got the ball, and he knew exactly what he was doing with it. You know, Frazier Ott, not the quickest laterally that they have, and so Dawn knowing that he had that matchup, just spun and went left. And crucial buckets here from Dawn when they've needed some kind of different looks in offense, and he's come up big here in this little Carthage run so far.
Dawn, the junior out of Wakanda, Illinois. Thought about the bounce pass, didn't take it. Stauder drives in, the turnaround floater. Couldn't find the bucket, had a good look. A three-pointer ties it after being down by 11 3 minutes ago. A.J. Williams is subbed in. Plenty of time left, Sigel at the top. Johnson pulls up for the long two. Step inside the line, but just like that, A.J. Johnson has the Birds within one.
I mean, maybe that's the key this afternoon, is just don't be behind the three-point line. Even at risk of taking a long two, those seem to be going in a lot easier than the three, but A.J. Johnson, crafty little bucket there.
A steal by Ryan Johnson. The Birds down by 11, a chance to take the lead. Sigel, absolute haymaker. He set fire to the rain. 46-44, Carthage up by 2. We mentioned a few minutes ago, a key three-pointer by Sigel could really turn the balance, and we see it there.
As we have a ghost haunting us up here.
You heard that, right?
Yes, yes.
I mean, I'm looking up to the rafters. I mean, if you go back to this mark, 8:13 in the contest or before, there is a loud sound that happened. Like, I literally thought maybe somebody was behind us and hit the wall or something, but sorry about that, folks.
That Sigel 3 got all.
Oh, man, the ghosts of Firebird passed. It awoke the spirits. Wow. I'm glad I wasn't the only one that heard that. Like, you could have very well played it off like, you know, Pete, you're losing it. You're getting old. You're hearing things.
And there again, the last of that possession. Again, Dawn just stuffing Lane Toman from trying to get anything going.
Dawn, the turnaround jumper. That would have sent this place into a frenzy. But again, that's why a player like Colton Sigel is such an impactful guy. Able to do things like that, and a foul is going to be called on the ground by Griffin Dawn. Not happy about it, but smart play. Slows down the offense of Millikin.
Carthage foul number 21, Griffin Dawn. First personal, second team foul. Millikin ball.
So Ott going to take a breather. Coming in is Stevenson. Checking back in is J.T. Welch. Welch, a very quick first step. Fadeaway jumper and good again. J.T. Welch, 9 points. Very smooth in his style.
Yeah, I mean, he's a tough guard because obviously you got to be, you know, wary of him out in the three-point line, but he also has got the quickness and the ability to get a couple shots off like that.
Sigel thought he might have had another three, but right now tied at 46, just under 7 remaining. Driving in, looking for the pass, wide open for three. Can't find it off the side iron, and Mr. Hustle Griffin Dawn runs it down. Lineup is Sigel, Williams, Dawn, and the Johnsons. Strong over to Williams, and that was an ill-advised pass by Sigel. Coach Jared Kovic saying, "Where'd you go?" I mean, that was a sideline to sideline, one hand just rifle shot.
Trying to reverse it there, you know, get the Millikin into some rotation, but that, no matter what, that was going to be a tough pass to connect on. That was a low percentage pass, I would say.
Looking for the three-pointer for number 3, J.T. Welch. Has Big Blue regained the lead? The last 5 points for Millikin by way of J.T. Welch.
Yeah, what an option they have with him.
Floater up with the left hand. A.J. Johnson, Ryan Johnson thought he had the rebound, but taken away by Millikin. You felt after that Sigel three that things were starting to go in the favor of Carthage. Millikin saying not so fast. The drive, the kick. Thought about the two. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Bond gets the contact. Pump fake, kicks out. Stauden drives, floats, blocked. Sigel comes away with it. Head coach Kramer Soderberg calling out the directions of where to line up defensively. His assistants Mark Snyder, Tom Noonan, Andrew Kerfin, and Grant Baker. The pass in. Foul going to be called as A.J. Williams contact on the hand. Drake Stevenson didn't think that happened. Thought it was clean, but the arm followed through and made contact.
Yeah, there's not how much you can do about it now. Just did get the call, and, you know, fortunately for the Firebirds, that close call goes their way. And now, really, with the way they've been shooting, every free throw even more important as the game starting to wind down. We just got under 5 minutes, so free throw shooting going to be at a premium as Riley Brooks comes back in. And I mean, we talk about law of averages. I mean, you got to expect Riley Brooks, you know, as good of a shooter and scorer as he is, he's going to hit one of these, right? One or two, three maybe.
A.J. Williams, a 800 free throw shooter, so you want him at the line, and he makes them both. Well, also to note, and I don't know if it's new or not, I haven't necessarily noticed it before, but Brooks does have his right wrist and thumb wrapped up right now, and he's a righty. So potentially something impacting his shooting hand. It's one thing if it's just the wrist, but the fact that it's attached to the thumb, something to keep your eye on. The drive, the layup, the beautiful passing we saw early on in the second half showing itself here again. Lead back to 3.
I mean, that's the type of play that a 5-year starter can make, and just a beautiful no-look bounce pass, opening up his teammate.
Johnson floats it in and good. A.J. Johnson yet again. Smooth passing for Millikin. Plenty of time to get one off. The pump fake, drives in. Congestion in the paint. The left hand and a point-blank miss, Lane Toman. It would be a tough one, but he's been known to make that with the left hand.
Again, that looked easy, but again, when you got Dawn really just completely, I mean, just a half a step behind him, Dawn is just a nice job defensively.
A.J. Johnson back in the lead. Somebody call 911. Firebirds are heating up.
And AJ up to 16 points after Ryan taking the lead on the scoring load in the first half.
Ryan Johnson thought he had the clean block. That's actually a call going to be called on AJ Johnson. So it was a clean block, but AJ Johnson made contact on the floor. That's one of those where it's the, ooh. Because the block and the excitement of such taken away by the foul. So Bond going to the line. A 650 free throw shooter makes the first. With the second one, Millikin can tie it. Back and forth battle. Every time Millikin thought they might have found the secret sauce to run away with it, Carthage has made some clutch shots. And we are all tied with 3 minutes left in the game. Both teams, same record overall, same record in the conference. Ryan Johnson, the big man, with a big shot.
The brothers trading off big threes there, and they were running a little pick and roll for themselves in that two-man game between the Johnson brothers, coming up big again.
Floating it up, getting contact. Carthage still has the lead, but Chase Travis delivers a clutch play. The season high for Ryan Johnson is 26 against UW-Whitewater. He's at 21 this evening. On the crossover. Johnson baseline. Passes to the older brother. Just like they're once again back home in Oswego, Illinois. 18 for AJ.
How was AJ able to get to that spot without anyone guarding him? It's just all of a sudden he was all alone, and his brother said, yeah, here you go.
3-point lead, pushing away, poked away, possession going to Carthage. So JT Welch extended that left arm to get separation, but extended a bit too far. So Firebirds, with their first time in the second half, an opportunity to make it a two-possession game with 1:45 left, and a timeout going to be called by Coach Jarakovic. What resolve and resiliency by this Carthage team. Multiple times you could have said left for dead. 22-4 run against them, and they just found their way, didn't let the situation become too big, Eric, and they're up by 3 and have the ball.
Yeah, and I really think it came from, guys like Griffin Dawn and Ryan Johnson taking it to the basket a little bit more in the second half after kind of settling. It seemed like they kept settling for those jumpers at the three-point line. And then once the offense kind of got moving, it felt like the momentum was going. And then now those three-point shots that have been going up and missing, now those seem to be getting buried at the bottom of the net. And the Johnson brothers, we talk about it all the time. And, how awesome has this tandem been for the Firebirds? Where would they be without these brothers in this game especially?
58-55 your score. Make sure you stick around for the post-game show, as we'll have stats, highlights, and more, as well as head coach Steve Jarakovic will be joining us in the booth to go over this game, and I am sure he'll be a little bit relieved if they come away with this come-from-behind victory. And I always say this, if it's like a 1 or 2 point deficit, I don't necessarily use the term come from behind. But you were down 11 a few minutes ago, and it wasn't looking good. And also, Brooks has not scored a point. If you were to tell me that, okay, you're 10 minutes left in the game, Brooks hasn't scored a point, you're down 11. But you know what? That's not a Carthage team. That's not a Jarakovic team. I'm sure Steve could still lace him up.
No doubt about that. Really, like we've talked about at halftime, both leading scorers, not making a huge impact. Tolman just 6 points. Brooks off the scoring sheet altogether. So it has come from other avenues for both teams, and you're going to expect the Johnson brothers to run this two-man game. It's been so effective.
Drive by Johnson, out. Dawn stepping in with 3, with 2. The fadeaway! Shot of the game for the Birds. Griffin Dawn double digits at 11 points, 60-55 Carthage.
What a shot there from Griffin Dawn. He knew he had to get one up and fade away and able to knock it in.
Trying to answer back with a 3 off the front iron, no good. Brooks comes away with the rebound. 5-point lead. Birds have possession, and they can take 20-plus seconds away from this remaining shot clock. A.J. Johnson to try to put it away for 3, but Griffin Dawn with a hustle offensive board. And a foul going to be called against A.J. Johnson. 34 seconds remain. Firebirds up by 5, and the foul party's about to start. It is a scoreless 2 minutes and 6 seconds for Millikin, and that is the wrong time to not make a bucket.
Yeah, wow. The defensive end has just been, so stout for the Firebirds, and now you want to get it to 15 and have them take you home with these free throws. I mean, you got to think, like, fouling a guy like A.J. Johnson, it's like you really are, you're up against the percentages. I mean, you think about, he's at 90% free throw shooter, so, only a 10% chance he's going to miss one of these. And, if Carthage can just take care of the ball, try to force Millikin, some tough looks offensively and just get it to 15 and let them knock him down.
Good. Whew. Hit every part of the rim, but it hit the most important. That's the bottom of the net. 2-possession game. A.J. Johnson at 19 can make it 20. Nails it. The Johnson brothers have accounted for 41 out of the 62 points for Carthage this evening. Unbelievable. Bond drives in, left hand, misses. Dawn, the rebound. AJ over to Brooks, and thought he could maybe get ahead of it, but a foul's going to be called. And with 24.4 seconds remaining, everything's coming up red.
Yeah, wow. I mean, you want to throw Griffin Dawn in there, too. It's really been a three-headed monster of Dawn, Johnson, and Johnson. I mean, Dawn chipping in 11 points himself, 5-11 from the field, so doing it efficiently. And also we've talked about Dawn having a huge assignment defensively. So, I think that is as big of an impact as he has with his 11 points. An even bigger impact has been defensively because he's just been in the pocket of anyone he has tried to defend this afternoon.
I think math is important, as you bring up an amazing point, that with that being said, 54 out of the 64 points have been scored by Johnson, Johnson, and Dawn.
New law firm opening up.
I was just going to say, Johnson, and Dawn, associates with 4, 3, 2, and 1. That's going to be it. That's going to be all she wrote. A come-from-behind victory for the Firebirds in unexpected ways. A win is a win. A huge win at home. 64-55. Everything came up Firebirds in the end. Stick around. Head coach Steve Jarakovic will join us momentarily. But Eric, thoughts on that final few moments of the game?
I mean, I think it's just what's impressive about this victory is that it wasn't pretty. It was not pretty for about 30 of the 40 minutes of the game, but in the last 10 minutes, when it really came down to it, Carthage took care of the ball. They found open looks. They got the stops they needed, and these are the kind of games that, really good teams win. It's like, I don't think this is their best offensive effort at all, but coming out on top regardless.
We'll take a timeout. When we come back, the post-game show with head coach Steve Jarakovic on the Firebird Broadcasting Network. Don't go anywhere.
Your Carthage Firebirds women's national team supporting Carthage Firebirds Athletics this evening. Please drive home safely. And as always, go Birds!
Welcome into the postgame show on the Firebird Broadcasting Network. For Eric Elger, I'm Peter Ferreri. Joining us now, head coach, winning coach, Steve Jerichovic. Steve, talk us through it. Down by 11. You have Brooks scoreless. It was looking kind of bleak, but my goodness, the resolve your team had, it was fun to watch.
Couldn't be prouder of this group today.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we won this one the last couple of years too. And they believed. We put ourselves in some interesting holes, I guess, in the last few conference games too, and had to work our way out of it. So proud of the guys for battling through to the end. You said it, Riley's not shot the ball. He's in a little bit of a cold streak right now, but he was the first one in the locker room that said afterwards, hey, a lot of teams I've been on may have caved in that situation down 11. We stuck together, followed through with the game plan, and one of our 2 keys on the board before the game for Millikin was consistency in the defensive end of the floor. And they don't shoot the ball particularly well, but they're efficient, they're experienced, and they have some really talented players on that end that can make some tough shots. So I thought our guys worked them the entire time, and at the end of the day, we're happy to walk out of here with the win. So
talk about some of that. I mean, you guys took 33 pointers, and I don't know how on average how many you guys take, but it felt like a heavy amount of threes that for a while they weren't going in, and it felt like there's about a stretch where it's like it felt like there's 12 misses in a row. Not sure what that was, but what do you tell your guys when the shooting's a little cold? I mean, are you saying just keep firing it up, or do you say like, hey, let's look to find some different ways to score here?
That goes to the second key on the board, which was shoot the ball with confidence. So I think we had that confidence. The ball just didn't find the bottom of the net today. And we have some really talented shooters and guys that we trust making those plays late in games, and that's our style. We're going to space you out. We're going to try to attack you off the bounce. They really changed their style by chasing Griffin with the 5-man, and it kind of makes a little bit of an adjustment period for us to try to get into it and say, oh, we're not used to this. And it took us a little bit to get our feet wet, but then when we did, I thought we got more comfortable as the game went on. But that's how Millikin plays. They're very, very correct. They're very, very safe on the defensive end of the floor. They're in gaps all the time, where we told them for the last couple days, like, you can't over-penetrate against this team because they're sitting there. You got to find the next guy in line and be ready to shoot the ball with confidence. So I sure hope a lot of guys are in the gym tomorrow, getting on the shooting gun, coming back in before practice on Monday, and it would make, I think I told them in the locker room, your life would be much easier. You weren't 7-29 and 7 for 30 from 3 and winning these games too. So.
The other thing I wanted to ask you about, and it's like a guy like Griffin Dawn, I mean, yeah, he chipped in 11 points, but, some of the other things don't really show up on the stat sheet. And, like, to me, it seemed like he was just, when there was a key defensive stop that needed to be made, unlike guys like you talked about, guys like such Lane Tolman, I mean, he had a, tough shooting night, and it just felt like if Millikin missed a shot, Griffin Dawn wasn't far away from it.
He's your ultimate utility guy who does all the little things. All championship level teams, all winning teams have a guy like Griffin Dawn, and that's the reason why. Sometimes the unsung hero, some people are going to look up and say, man, the Johnson brothers again combined for 40 or whatever it would be. Griffin does all the little things to help this team win, and he's improved so much this year. He's taken it upon himself to say, I'm going to guard the best player. I don't care if it's 1, 2, 3, 4. He'd want to play 5. I don't know if we're there yet, but he does everything you ask of him. And I think the ultimate compliment to him would be he reminds me a lot of Brad Cruz, one of our players on a conference championship team about 6-8 years ago, who did those things. And when you get that compliment, it's hard to say that about many people, but he's got some similar attributes to Brad. 6'4", long arms, good timing, and just does all the dirty things to help you win basketball games.
Looking ahead now, North Central this Wednesday and a week from today, Wheaton College. North Central at home, Wheaton away. You don't want to look too far ahead. What's the next few days going to look like getting ready for North Central?
Get back to the rest of the CCW grind of what it is. Every team in this league is so competitive, top to bottom, and there's no free ones. Now we say that, I can say this for the next 6 times I come up here with you guys, but there are no free runs for the next 6 weeks of this season. Every Wednesday, Saturday, you need to come ready to, compete. And I thought we'd done that the last 2 days. I thought we were a little flat coming out of North Park. Just first game after break, I didn't like our attention to detail. Last 2, we've been awesome in practice. We've been really laser focused that way too. So we need 2 good days again to get ready Monday, Tuesday for a North Central team that's got some seniors that have been around, like Millikin, been around a long time, like JT Welch and Bond and those guys here. And Ethan Helwig's back. and he's a really talented player. Terrence Moncrief is a first-team all-conference point guard.
Yep.
So we got to come to work and be ready, and I think the defensive end of the floor is going to really set the tone for us, getting stops, getting out to transition.
Sounds good. Well, Coach, get some rest, and we'll see you this upcoming Wednesday, 7 o'clock tip-off.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks, Coach. Again, that was head coach Steve Jarakovic, 64-55 your score. Eric, final thoughts for what we saw was a huge come-from-behind victory, and even Coach leaned into the thought that, yeah, you know what, this may not have happened in years past.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting, too, at that point is what I kind of took away. And just the, the almost calmness of the team. It's like, because sometimes you get down 11, you start forcing things, more mistakes happen, but it's almost like when they got down 11, that's kind of when they said, all right, let's go. All right, we've put ourselves in this hole now. Let's get some good basketball out of here, and some timely shots, and really just lockdown defense from guys like Griffin Dawn, and that's what led that comeback. And once they got ahead, they were able to really push forward and exert, kind of squeeze the life out of the game with their free throw shooting.
Also want to give a shout out. We don't talk about it too much here on the broadcast. Maybe we should a little bit more. But assistant coaches Tyler Pierce and DeAndre Evans, there's no success without the success of your assistant coaches, and really seeing, and I wanted to bring that up because right now they're out there talking to the players, they're talking to the families, and again, the impact they have as well is, kind of the unsung heroes to who helped this team be ready. We're, all but 10 of your points are 3 players that may not normally be the players that do that, but did so today.
Yeah, and just, I think even then some of those guys that didn't get on the scoring sheet so much, like guys like Riley Brooks, they still played collective team defense. And, guys, if you're missing a bunch of shots, it's pretty easy to kind of come on the other end and be like, I'm not making anything. And, the defensive focus isn't there. But, that's where Carthage really locked in, and that, shots were going in, but they came up with stop after stop after stop when they needed it there in the second half. And, credit to the guys to continue fighting and not folding when they got down by 11 and rising above.
Yeah. Again, looking at some of the numbers, 7 for 30 from 3. Rebounds about the same, turnovers about the same, assists about the same. Points was that little bit of a differential at the very end. Wouldn't have thought that a 64-55 final would be the score when they were down by 11 in the waning moments of the game. But again, the resiliency, the resolve, and again, really appreciating what Brooks telling his teammates that he may not have been on a team that's done this before. So fun to see, good to see, glad to see. We'll see what comes up next this upcoming Wednesday. Again, speaking of this upcoming Wednesday, 7 o'clock your tip-off versus North Central. Thursday, doubleheader of wrestling women's first, then the men's 6 and 7 o'clock. The following Wednesday, the 22nd, men's hoops versus Carroll, and then Saturday, basketball doubleheader against Augustana. As for the upcoming game for Millikin, they will be taking on Illinois Wesleyan this Wednesday at 7 o'clock. A huge matchup for both of those teams, as Illinois Wesleyan, one of the cream of the crop teams once again, and Carthage taking on the Cardinals of North Central. Again, we want to thank you all for being with us this Saturday afternoon of a doubleheader. For executive producer Mike Love, producer John Voinovich, as well as Jeremy, Natasha, Laura, Morgan, Addison, and Ainsley. Appreciate them being with us a long afternoon. This program has been a presentation of Carthage College and Firebird Broadcast Productions. Once again, for Eric Elger, I'm Peter Ferreri. Have a good day, everybody.